Welcome back to ITV's Morning News. Today's top story. Allied planes have taken advantage of clearing skies to target military and communication sites across Yugoslavia. But the Serbs claim a NATO airstrike on the former mining town of Aleksinac in the south flattened a street, killing 5 civilians. An American high school dropout has been jailed for life after pleading guilty to the murder of a gay college student. 21-year-old Russell Henderson's admission cut short a trial which could have ended with the death penalty. The roofer posed as a homosexual, luring Matthew Shepard out of a bar. Anise Risley reports.
It was from this bar in Laramie, Wyoming that Matthew Shepard was led to his death because he was gay. He was pistol whipped and lashed to this fence on a country road in sub-freezing temperatures before he died 5 days later in hospital. 21-year-old Russell Henderson, one of 2 men charged in the murder, pleaded guilty to evade the death penalty. The court sentenced him to 2 consecutive life terms without possibility of parole. His only hope for release is a pardon.
Basically, I don't think Russell has a realistic opportunity to ever get paroled in this particular case. There's no governor, I don't think, that would parole in this case.
Henderson's guilty plea could set the stage for him to testify at his friend's trial, the second defendant, Aaron McKinney. He's admitted to having dealt the 3 final blows that killed Matthew Shepard last October. The brutal attack threw the spotlight on hate crimes and anti-gay violence. Gay rights groups and residents joined demonstrations to express their shock at the vicious crime, while others protested against homosexuality. Gay activists said the attack showed the need for anti-hate crime legislation. Anise Risley, ITN.
2 men charged with plotting to kill young girls have been remanded in custody in Wolverhampton. Paul Elkington and Michael Williams, both in their 40s, are jointly charged with conspiracy to murder girls aged between 2 and 7. Eric McInnes was in court.
The 2 men were arrested on Saturday by West Midlands Police Paedophile and Pornography Unit after an extensive surveillance operation. They were brought before a special bank holiday sitting of Wolverhampton Magistrates Court. 46-year-old Paul Elkington and 49-year-old Michael Williams appeared before the magistrates separately. They were both handcuffed and flanked by security staff. They faced the same charge, that is, that they conspired to murder female children between the ages of 2 and 7. An application for bail by Williams was refused. There was no application by Elkington. Both men have now been remanded in custody until the 13th of April, when they're due to appear here again. Eric McInnes, ITN, Wolverhampton Magistrates Court.
PEPs and TESAs have been replaced this morning by ISAs, the government's new individual savings accounts. It's estimated more than £1 billion has been ploughed into savings over the past week to take advantage of last night's deadline.
For one city firm, the only way to ensure last-minute investors were not disappointed was by flying in their PEP application forms to meet the deadline. Yesterday, hundreds of building societies and fund management companies opened specially on the bank holiday to cope with a surge in demand. In the run-up to the abolition of the tax-free savings schemes, the Halifax has been dealing with 5,000 TESA applications a day, where it would normally only deal with 500.
A lot of customers came in with application forms already completed that they'd had at home for months and even years in some cases, and they thought that today they'd better do something about it.
The massive increase in the number of PEPs being sold means about £1.5 billion of extra funds will be added to the stock market. Traders expect share prices to reach a record high. The government's new individual savings accounts, which replace PEPs and TESAs, start today, but they offer a less generous tax-free allowance, and experts aren't expecting a rush for application forms. Ben McCarthy, ITN.
The NATO attacks on targets in Serbia and the refugee crisis on Kosovo's borders have led news bulletins here for a fortnight. Western journalists are able to report from Belgrade, but what they say is subject to government restrictions. So how is the war being reported to Serbian people by their own television stations? Here's Ian Ramage.
The official state television channel in Serbia runs news bulletins on the hour. It usually has pictures of the NATO bombing raids within a short time of them happening. The NATO attacks are referred to as enemy action. Understandably, Serb TV concentrates on civilian casualties and damage to people's homes. The attacks on the Interior Ministry buildings last week were condemned as outrageous beyond belief because of the proximity of the hospital over the road. There's no mention of the ethnic cleansing underway in Kosovo, no pictures of the humanitarian crisis on the borders of Albania and Macedonia, no mention of atrocities carried out by Serb soldiers and police. Instead, there are interviews with ethnic Albanians who say they're fleeing Kosovo because of the NATO bombing.
With my Serb neighbors, I didn't have any problems. Problems came with Clinton and his NATO forces.
Besides the news bulletins, there are many patriotic programmes stiffening the resolve of the Serbian people. And there are programmes in English designed for the West, condemning the NATO action and highlighting the civilian casualties.
One NATO missile hit vicinity of the town Peć in village Klina. It is probable that there are civilian casualties due to the fact that in the village that was hit there are no military targets.
Much of the other fare on Serbian TV seems a world away to the West's sophisticated output. There's a lot of folk dancing and many readings. And there are never any discussion programmes. Indeed, the only time Serbian leaders are quizzed is when they appear on CNN. The fact that many in Belgrade have satellite dishes and access to CNN does mean that the local population has an alternative to the reports transmitted by the state channel. Ian Ramage, ITN.
Sport now, and Arsenal can move within a point of Manchester United at the top of the Premiership if they beat Blackburn at Highbury this evening. Last night Newcastle met Tottenham in a dress rehearsal of Sunday's FA Cup semi-final. Keith Malone was watching.
In 6 days' time, these two sides will be running out to face each other in the FA Cup. So at stake the upper hand in a psychological battle, with a place at Wembley the ultimate prize. The best chances fell to the white shirts of Spurs, but with both managers resting their star strikers, Shearer for Newcastle and Ginola for Tottenham, both attacks lacked the scoring touch. Allen and David will surely be selected for Sunday's semi-final though, and then the goals should be flowing from these types of openings. But after half-time, Spurs scored from a chance that should never be missed. A penalty awarded, and Darren Anderton finding the net. But Newcastle responded with a goal fit for Wembley itself. From the boot of Tamuri Ketsbaya. Spurs should have won the match near the end, but 1-1 the final score, with neither side winning the mind games for Sunday's cup battle. Keith Malone, ITN Sport.
And now a roundup of the other games in the Premiership. Everton dropped into the relegation zone after losing at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Italian defender Marco Materazzi's miss-hit back pass allowed Carboni to accept his second gifted goal of the game. Charlton moved clear of the bottom clubs after beating West Ham. Graham Stewart headed home 15 minutes from time to secure the 3 crucial points. Coventry won the relegation encounter with Southampton, who look increasingly likely to go down. George Boateng scoring the game's only goal. Middlesbrough scored the day's quickest goal. They were ahead against Wimbledon after just 31 seconds, courtesy of Hamilton Ricard. The home side ran out easy winners. Liverpool totally dominated their encounter with Nottingham Forest but failed to win. Forest equalised twice against the run of play. The last a spectacular 30-metre free kick in injury time from Pierre van Hooijdonk. You're watching the ITV Morning News. It's 8 minutes to 6 on Tuesday the 6th of April. Here's a reminder of today's top stories. Allied planes have taken advantage of clearing skies to target military and communication sites across Yugoslavia. But the Serbs claim a NATO airstrike on the former mining town of Aleksinac in the south flattened a street, killing 5 civilians and wounding more than 30. Meanwhile, the first Kosovars being airlifted out of Macedonia have landed in western Turkey. Tim Nielsen reports.
These are the pictures broadcast overnight from Serbian television showing the devastation caused by an Allied attack on what is allegedly to be a purely residential area in the centre of a mining town of Aleksinac. A local doctor is quoted as saying an entire street was wiped out, but there were no pictures showing a large-scale emergency underway. Local officials are alleging that 5 people have been killed and at least 30 wounded. Among the buildings claimed to be hit is an ambulance station. Other targets last night included the power station in the northern city of Novi Sad, sending a spectacular orange fireball into the night sky. This is the 14th day of NATO bombardments, and for only the 3rd time RAF Harrier jets successfully completed their bombing mission. Clear skies also allowed targets to be hit, an oil refinery near the Hungarian border, and a railway bridge over the Danube River. NATO is now aiming to cut the Yugoslav military's lines of supply and transport, roads, bridges, airports, fuel depots and command centres. According to Serb news agency reports, several missiles again blasted a barracks at Prizren, Kosovo's second largest city. They say NATO missiles also hit a communications relay station near the provincial capital Pristina and blasted targets on the main road from Kosovo to central Serbia. There have been claims from the Serbs that they had downed another stealth bomber overnight, but the Allies say all planes returned safely from their missions. Meanwhile, hundreds of weak and exhausted Kosovo refugees landed in western Turkey last night, the start of a planned airlift across Europe and North America of thousands ejected from their homes by Yugoslav forces. Many were still wearing what they had left Kosovo in days ago, when they walked into the small airbase at Korlu. Processing stations were set up. Turkey has pledged to accommodate up to 20,000 refugees. Despite being the first to leave Macedonia, many of the 150 were unhappy about going to Turkey. One refugee said she had a brother in Germany and would rather have gone there. The country plans to accommodate them at a tent city nearby. Tim Nielsen, ITN.
The Disasters Emergency Committee is launching a national appeal this morning to aid the refugee crisis. The committee includes the British Red Cross, Oxfam, CAFOD and Christian aid agencies. The British appeal will be broadcast on ITV and BBC this evening. The United States has also opened a special hotline. President Clinton said donating money to private charities was the most important thing people could do to ease the crisis. The stock market is expected to show a sharp rise this morning when it opens after the Easter break. The reason? New highs in America, where the Dow Jones Index closed above 10,000 points for only the second time ever. Here, the money flowing in from investors meeting last night's PEP's deadline will contribute to the expected rise. And finally, details have leaked out of wedding plans for David Beckham and Posh Spice, also known as Victoria Adams. The celebrity couple are tying the knot in Ireland. The big day is July the 4th. It's believed the reception will be in a castle. The Sun's got hold of an invite, said to have been designed by the couple themselves, featuring a coat of arms based on the Premiership trophy. And that's all from the ITV Morning News team. GMTV follows us. The next main news from ITN is at 12:30. You are from all of us here. Goodbye.
I'm a CEO, and sometimes my IT guys are smarter than me. They say each of our 16,000 employees has a different computer need. So we didn't need a vendor to drop boxes and walk away. We needed a relationship. And Dell came to see us. From having our servers installed to on-site support, it's like Dell's on staff. They're not building computers, they're building relationships.
Be direct. Dell. Dell servers feature Intel Pentium 3 processors.